Hello, welcome to Black Friday with Brittany Kennedy. Moi. Today is May 1st, 2020, and I'm excited that it's a new month, hoping that coronavirus is one more month behind us and that much farther from us, and hopefully we are going to see a decline in those numbers. As of right now, it is still very prominent that you make sure that you stay safe and healthy as much as possible. If you go outdoors, make sure you've got a mask on, make sure you wear gloves. It is pivotal, paramount. It's important, okay? So make sure you're doing that. Last week, I talked about actually COVID-19, of course, it's the topic of everything right now. And I want to change things up a little bit. Last week, I talked about how Georgia was going to be lifting the restrictions and how all Black people need to stay inside. And unfortunately, we have seen an increase in numbers in Georgia, and who knows if that is actually because of people not staying inside, because it is a 14-day incubation period. So with whether or not everybody who decided to go and risk themselves last week decided to go and get test, there's no true way to know, but we do know that numbers are increasing there, which means that the risk is greater than what it was before they unleashed the doors. So obviously, not smart at all, Georgia. But anywho, for those that are new to Black Friday, this is a space where I like to talk about socioeconomic issues in the Black community that are too taboo to talk about. The idea is to get us thinking about these issues so that we could make a difference, so that we can make a difference in our community. I want to see my people rise. I want us to rise so greatly. And I know that we can, and I know that we will. So this is where I like to share my ideas, my thoughts on issues that I'm thinking we should talk about. Today we're going to talk about money. Woo! I love money. We should probably all love money. And I love money because I enjoy being able to take care of myself and providing for myself and my family. And so taking care of my little boy is like number one for me right now. So investing in my mind has become huge. And I'm only 33 years young. I'll go ahead and tell my age. It's not that big of a deal anymore. But I wish I had started thinking about money sooner. I was very adamant about just enjoying my early 20s, enjoying college. If I wanted to go somewhere, I went. Who cared? You know, money was coming. There was no end in sight. There's plenty of money out there for me to go and get. And if I had time to rewind, I would have been much smarter about my finances, and I would have saved a lot more early on. Unfortunately, I did not, but that's neither here nor there. I'm here now. And so I want to talk about money and how it is affecting the Black community. It's really important. I actually shared an article that I'll have to look up. I totally forgot about it for this video, but basically, the amount of time that the dollar exists in the Black community is greatly different than in other communities. And I'm going to have to try to see if I can look that up, but I'll definitely at least share the link. I believe that basically the dollar lasts about 6 hours in the Black community, whereas in other communities like Asians and the white community, the dollar actually lasts about, I think, up to 21 days in some cultures. So basically what that means is that from the moment that you get a dollar, how long it exchanges within the Black community, how long it circulates in the Black community before it goes into another culture is about 6 hours, if that. Whereas others it's about 21 days, some it's 3 days, some it's much longer than 6 hours. So I want to go ahead and dive into the research that I've discovered. And so I'm going to start out with an article on CNBC. If I'm not mistaken, that's what it's called. CNBC. And the article is titled, "More Black Investors Should Look to Stock Market to Grow Their Wealth." This article was written by Lizetta Rainey Broxton, a fellow Black woman. And basically, let's see here. So, if wealth is a household, and I'm quoting here, if wealth is a household objective in Black communities, the stock market should absolutely be considered. Low African American participation in the stock market contributes to the widening wealth gap between black and white households, according to a 2014 study by Credit Suisse and Brandeis University's Institute on Assets and Social Policy. There are signs, however, that change is coming. To that point, according to a 2017 market research report, about 67% of African Americans with incomes of at least $50,000 have money invested in stocks or stock mutual funds. That compares with 60% in 2010 and 57% in 1998. So the stock market is obviously very important for us. It's very key to our wealth and to increasing that wealth within the Black community. I strongly recommend it. One of the quotes here on this article also says, it's important for African Americans to recognize that they don't have to take the plunge into the stock market alone. Consider taking classes in investment, hiring a certified financial planner, and joining an investment club. Please, please, don't go out there and just start investing into anything and everything, because that's not wise. Do your research first. It is so important that you do your research. I have done research. I am doing research. My son's father is pretty knowledgeable about stocks, and so we're discussing some stock options that I can invest into right now for my son. And right now, I actually looked up that there are quite a few stock that is prominent right now to be able to invest in. So Amazon is really big, Netflix is really big, Disney is really big, and the shares in which you can purchase this stock is pretty affordable. So I would really look into those. Do your research, like I said. A couple of suggestions here in the article. It says, assess what you have, and this is prior to investing into something. Assess what you have. Stay informed. Spread the risk. So basically, while you research buying stocks, consider investing in mutual funds and exchange traded funds in a brokerage account. So look at other options, not just investing in stock. High yield savings accounts are perfect and ideal for long term things. I think for short term things, unless you have a great amount of money that you're putting in there, you're not going to get that much immediately. But like in my case, where I have a son who I want to put in college, putting in money now at a certain rate, an interest rate of like 1.5 will definitely give me something really, really good to give him when he is 18, 19, setting aside trust funds. That's one of the things that I want to discuss in the next article, that white people do better than us, and it's really kind of costing us. And not kind of, it is, it's really costing us. So according to The Atlantic, and just so that you know, I will put all of these links in the bottom so you'll be able to go and look at the research yourself. But in The Atlantic, it says white college graduates are doing great with their parents' money. That's the title. Of course they are. So basically, white people have done a better job in leaving money for their children, something black people have not really done a great job at doing. At least not a lot of it, and that's very unfortunate. So the article says, the numbers are staggering. White Americans with a college degree are on average 3 times as wealthy as black Americans with the same credential, and in families whose head of the household is employed, with white families have 10 times the wealth of black ones. One estimate on the Conservative in suggested that this wealth gap could take 2 centuries to close. That's a long fucking time, people. Who has 2 centuries, right? I mean, obviously we have 2 centuries, but we don't have 2 centuries to make a difference to bridge that margin between what's happening in the white community and the black community in order for us to get ahead. It's paramount for us to, decrease that bridge, decrease that gap between the black household and the white household. So let's see here. I would also wanted to look at another paragraph. So the 2 researchers focus specifically on inheritance among families where at least one parent has a college degree. They looked at families like this in order to test the notion that higher education is a great equalizer. The differences that they found between black and white families were stark. Among college-educated Black families, about 13% get an inheritance of more than $10,000, as opposed to 41% of white college-educated families. Taylor said in a release announcing the new research. More specifically, white families that receive such an inheritance receive on average more than 150,000 from the previous generation, whereas that figure is less than 40,000 for Black families. That's a big difference, guys. Huge difference. We have got to do better at preparing our children for their future and leaving them a legacy. Having children is great. Not giving them the tools they need in order to succeed, including financial wealth, besides just education, is not great. We really, really need to do better. The article also says that head start on wealth provides lifelong momentum. Taylor told me in an interview. The median wealth held by Black families with a college degree and student loans by the time the head of household is 65 years old, she said, is about 61,000 versus roughly 422,000 for white families under the same circumstances. That is triple the amount of what we are being able to acquire by that age, and it's extremely unfortunate. It's really not doing us justice whatsoever. So we've got to do better at leaving our children wealth. It's really, really important. I mean, just look at what's going on right now in the community, in the world. Coronavirus has left people unemployed, without savings. And the minimal amount of savings that they had, they're probably already gone through. We should have 3 to 6 months worth of our salary saved up. And me personally, I'm not sure which one is more, 3 to 6 months worth of salary or 3 to 6 months worth of bills. But you need to make sure that you at least have that and then some in order to be able to survive. In times like this, for people who, if you're able to get unemployment, great. But for freelancers are not able to get unemployment in the same capacity that a lot of people out there. I'm a freelancer. So my income should always be 3 to 6 months more than it should be more than my bills. I should have that saved up. And to be honest, I don't. I'm okay, but I'm not in a great position. And that puts me at a disadvantage. It puts, potentially my son at a disadvantage. But overall, we are doing great. We don't have those issues. But again, if I had thought about things smarter a while ago, when I was in college, I would have definitely done things differently. I would have started investing in stock then. So I think it's important to start to teach our children about finances and to let them know what it means to save money, what your bills are, how much it actually costs to run a household. I think we should definitely be making sure that they have savings accounts. Once they are 16, 17-year-olds, getting them a checking account and a savings account. If you're not very versed in financial literacy, finding an institution, a bank, a credit union, something around you that has a program where they teach financial literacy. Most of them have some kind of program. I know for a fact out in New York, I'm probably going to butcher the name, but Amalgamated, I don't know, whatever, Amalgamated Bank, they have a program where they teach financial literacy for their members, and it's a lovely program. So make sure you're in the know. I want to jump ahead to the next article because the graphs, and I'm also going to share this link in the bottom, the graphs were crazy on Market Watch. The differences in households were alarming in terms of how much we're making versus how much not counterparts, but how much white people are making. So the article was titled Opinion, Here's Why Black Families Have Struggled for Decades to Gain Wealth. And I'm just going to scroll down to the average household wealth. Okay, so it's giving a graph from beginning in 1989 all the way to 2016. And this article was published this year. I wish that it was more up to date in terms of, hopefully like 2019, but I think these numbers are still good and you can at least see the trend. And the trend is obviously that white people make a lot more money than we do. Even their mean is, I mean, alarmingly high. In 2016, our mean was 102,000. Theirs was 935,000. That is alarming. Alarming. Their median, which is average, the average of households has 142,000 at 2016. Black median average household was 13.5 thousand. Incredible. I'll say that again. The average of a white person's household right now, or at 2016, was 142,000, whilst a black household averaged 13.5 thousand. I can't even say anything else after that. Like, at all. At all, at all, at all. It's paramount that we get smarter about finances. It is so, so vital and important. I'm looking for another graph here that I wanted to share. Okay, so median wealth by education level. This is where things are, also very alarming. This is a 2011 study, so 10 years ago, but still, if you look at the numbers and the progression, you can kind of see where things are going. But anyways, so blacks less than high school. So a 2011 study shows that white Americans have more wealth than black Americans regardless of education. So less than high school, blacks were making $1,500, whites were making $34,700. High school graduate of blacks were making $3,200. A high school graduate of whites was making $78,300. Some college, blacks $7,100, whites $86,200. College degree $23,400, whites $180,500. Post college, I want to cry, honestly. Post college, $84,000, white $293,100. We are marginally behind in what's happening in our communities is ridiculous in terms of what we're doing with our money. When you look at stats like that, you cannot afford to not save money at all. I mean, and to be honest, you can't even afford not to have a fucking college degree. And that's the sad part about it. They can afford to not have a college degree. They can earn still $78,000. $78,000 is pretty much what you're making at a post-college degree. And by post-college, that means a master's, a doctorate, something. This is crazy. This is crazy. And they did not, obviously, in America, give us we didn't really have the footing, Slavery really held us back, and post-slavery held us back, because post-slavery, in this specific article, you'll see that all of the different things that they did to prevent us from being able to acquire wealth, meaning not being able to actually have property. They did something called white capping. It's where they would run you out of town and steal all of your possessions. And this was obviously back in, I don't know, what does it say? 1860s. But anyways, I mean, to be able to be a property owner still took a really, really long time. And so we really need to get smart about our finances. It's not just about owning property, though you really need to start focusing on that too. And keep the wealth. I don't understand. It's like somebody dies, right? A grandparent dies. They've got a house. Instead of keeping that house, keeping it in the family, leaving it for your kids, people are selling it. My family, my grandparents died. Their children, my aunts and uncles, sold the house. It was a fucking house on a lot of acres. Why did you sell it? because they're always thinking short-sighted. They just want money. People just want money. And I think that's one of the things in the Black community is we're very greedy when it comes to passing on wealth. We're not leaving our kids with enough. We're taking so much from our elders. I know people who their grandparents died and they're fighting over the house that was left to so-and-so and let's just sell it and split the money. And it's like, do you know that if you kept that house and actually like took care of it, the property value goes up, not down. So why aren't you keeping it in your family? Why would you sell an asset like that? People don't care. They're short-sighted. They're just thinking of the now and of myself and I just want. It's not wise. Last article that I pulled up from Black Enterprise. I'm just going to read these statistics out really quickly. The article is titled African American Economics, Real Facts. This was posted March 6, 2019. And basically, just to give you a real good breakdown, outside of retirement accounts, only 37% of African Americans own wealth-building products such as stocks and mutual funds. I'll say that again. Outside of retirement accounts, only 37% of African Americans own wealth-building products such as stocks and mutual funds. So 37% out of 100% is like not a lot. Only 35% believe they are doing a good job of preparing for retirement. 33% have less than 1 month of funds saved for a crisis, and less than 25% have amassed more than 6 months of emergency funds. So that means only a quarter of Black people right now are good. Everybody else is scrambling to put food on the table, to take care of everyday basic needs in their household right now because we're in a crisis. Only 25%. 58% are actively involved in educating their children on finances versus 48% of Caucasians. 40% rely on family members for information. I'm not sure about this statistic here because basically it makes us look good, I think, because 58% versus 48%, so 58% of us are actually educating our children on finances versus the 48%, but 40% of that 58% are relying on family members for information. And though that could be a good thing if your family member is well knowledgeable about financial literacy, but if they are not, you are fucked. And you're hearing Joe whatever, Melba whomever talk about finances, and her scope may be a little bit limited because she might be talking about how things were when she was a little girl, and that could be probably like, I don't know, 60 years ago. People with the name Melba, I assume, are probably about 90 years old or something. I don't know. What in here? The point is, we need to really do a better job of building wealth in our community. And so a couple of tips here from this article says financial education. Obviously, it's imperative to have a savings and a spending plan, allowing you to tell your money where to go and keep track of it. So financial education is important. We need to have a savings and checking account. We need to make sure that we are getting the best amount, the best services for our money. So don't just put your money into an account. Don't just keep your money in an account because you've had it there for 10 years, you've had it there for 20 years, your grandmother banked there, whatever. Do your research and find out who's offering the highest interest rates, because the longer you keep your money in an account, the more interest you actually get on your own money. So it only makes sense to do research. If you have to switch your money over from time to time, as long as there's not a crap load of penalties, do it. It is a wise choice. Do your research, honestly. Financial planning and execution, obviously, have a plan. Have a 5-year plan, have a 6-month plan, have a 10-year plan, have a 2-day plan. Understand what you're doing with your money, where your money's going, what your goals are. If you don't have goals, if you don't set goals, you're 9 times out of 10 not going to reach any goals. You're just going to be living paycheck to paycheck. And that is predominantly not just Black America, but a lot of America. So we've got to do things differently. Professional help as opposed to taking a do-it-yourself approach with finances. I'm all about DIY projects. I don't think finances is DIY. Sorry. You want to paint a canvas? You want to make a mask? Even that to me, you shouldn't be doing. It's not DIY. But hey, if you want to grow tomatoes in your backyard, fine, DIY. Google it. It's there. And you can find a lot of information on Google about finances. However, do not create a full-on financial plan just from Google. Though there are some great resources out there, make sure you're doing your best to find out. Start listening to people. I don't even know the financial people, to be honest, because I haven't even gotten that financial literate myself about what to really do on the higher level. I mean, I know the basics of save your money, checking account. I should have 3 to 6 months worth of bills saved up and salary or whatnot. I'm learning about stocks. I just learned about high yield savings account. So I've got some pretty good knowledge, probably more than your average, but I'm not good enough to tell you, like, you should go and listen to so-and-so on TED Talk. You should listen to so-and-so's podcast. Do your research there. All you got to do is Google top 10 financial advisors and you'll get something. So, professional help opposed to do it yourself. Not a place for finances. And don't listen to everybody, honestly. And double check when somebody tells you something. I go to this bank, I did this over here, and woo-doo-woo, and I got this great deal, and I got blah, 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 and I was able to save up, blah, blah, blah. Do your research and make sure that before you just go ahead and do something, you know. I think once it took me, I literally shopped around for a bank before I just put my money in one. And so for a little while, which is probably not a great thing, but I was cashing my check at check cashing places because I wanted to make sure I did thorough research on whatever bank I was going to go to, because I didn't want a crap load of fees on my own goddamn money. I wanted to make sure they had a certain amount of interest rate. I wanted to make sure that they had a great customer service. I wanted to find out if they supported Trump or if they didn't support Trump. I wanted to make sure a lot of different stuff. So when it comes to finances, please, people, be smart. Educate yourself. It's not something that you should just be not thinking about. I'm desperately thinking about what to do and how to leave enough for my son. Right now I'm on an aggressive plan of 50% of all of my income goes into an account just for him. And God willing, it will stay in that account. So far so good. But making sure that I'm putting enough money aside for him. Just being overtly aggressive of thinking like, dang, I'm already kind of behind the curve because I really wasn't doing a good job of saving. So making sure that I actually take enough and put it aside. I want to leave assets for my legacy. My children will be my legacy. My son is my legacy. And I want to make sure that I give him the tools. It's not just about the intellect. It's not just about the education. It's not just about the social skills. It's not just about the wisdom that you impartate to your children. It's also hugely, greatly part financial, because the better off you can make them and give them and allow them to understand what wealth really is and how it operates in this country, the better off they will be. We need to stop relying on other people, white people, institutions in order to survive. We need to really have our own money, our own wealth. We need to get better in investing in ourselves and investing in our people and in their businesses and doing the best that we possibly can to create growth in our community, because right now we are truly, truly lacking. And I know this video is like a little bit longer than what I would have preferred, but I hope you actually listened to it. I hope you got some kind of good knowledge. I hope you feel motivated to go out there and think of what you want to do with your finances and put yourself on a really good financial regimen and plan for your future, for your children's future, for your family, for generations to come. So, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope that you like my lovely channel. I hope you subscribe to it, share it, leave some comments. I love to get feedback. I do engage you guys. I respond. So thank you so much for checking it out. Have a good weekend, guys.